All right. Cabbage Cafe. Are we on Facebook?
We are live on Facebook.
Woohoo.
Awesome. Maybe right around 420 suspiciously. But
Cave Radio Studios, sometimes called the Cabbage Patch, right?
Sure. Okay. We'll take it.
Says who? I don't know.
And of course, everybody else on Zoom, and we'll have other guests will be coming on Zoom today too. I think that I noticed that Julie Barron from the Michigan Psychedelic Society or Group. What's the
Right.
okay, and Decriminalized Nature is joining us too right off the bat, so she'll jump in and be as much a part of the show and on the panel here as she wants. But our two formal guests that we have lined up today, Brianna DiSalvio, and she's with the Cannabis Legal Group. DiSalvio as a paralegal, and she just published a really good article on social equity issues, and we'll get deeper into that. Rick will give her a better introduction when that comes around in a little bit. And then we have Karen McDonald. She was on Planet Green Trees for a while, and got pretty in depth in a lot of stuff. So talk a little bit more about some of the stuff that was brought up there, and pick up where some of that left off, and give her the floor to let us know what other issues besides cannabis she's jumping on. And then in between, we'll talk about all things cannabis, and maybe we'll get a little news. Rick's into it. I don't know. We'll find out. And last week was very exciting, of course. And we didn't really delve into that decision. I know Alan didn't like the decision, but the component about, don't exhaust all your, possibilities type thing, and that one might be the petition because of the scheduling should be considered questionable, was at least interesting, nothing else.
Unfortunately, the news segment from last week was lost because there was an interruption in the signal. So
that's
we lost some at Tawana, but we got enough for an entire interview, which is posted on YouTube on the Jazz Cabbage Cafe YouTube channel.
There might be good audio on this. Maybe.
Yeah, probably good audio.
I'm sure there is.
Yeah,
We'll
okay.
probably be able to recreate in that way.
So I'm going to get like kind of grossly political. today.
Grossly political.
Because there was some kind of a heated exchange on planting green trees. And I understand, I've been in the midst of these conversations, and I've had some couple of different perspectives, along the way. And this isn't designed around getting into a debate, an exchange or something, but, for a lot of us who have been involved in cannabis reform and worked against the drug war and have pointed out many of the issues that it has caused, very tragic issues for a long time. I mean, just our own citizens caught up in, ridiculous overreach of power and been very abused. And that's what, these uprisings are about in part. And Joe Biden has been, at the heart of a lot of that. He, years ago was the architect of things that are now being used in that way and have evolved into this disproportionate treatment of some of our citizens, and the ability for police to kind of do a lot of what they want to do and take items of value and be selective, and all the issues that we find, on our issue, on our, evaluation of this, and things that we try to solve, and things that are being protested against right now. And it's, and it's true. His record on that is horrible if we're objectively looking at it. And then we have, an incumbent who, in a larger picture evaluation, this is where, some opinions may change, but for sure, the changes he made, I believe, are worse, are profoundly worse for many areas of that are necessary. The environment, for one, a basic understanding of the balance of powers, the Constitution. I mean, really fundamental things that are just dangerous. Who our enemies are and who our friends are. I mean, really, really extreme, fundamentally, just horrible approaches to things that hurt our democracy and our citizens. And, and is that big enough to give up the more narrow approach to like criminal justice reform in the elections coming up, and that's kind of what this was based on. And there's a wide range of views there, and I kind of tend to believe that if Trump wasn't so extremely out there and really horrible in a lot of extremely crucial issues, I might be the rebel in me might want to work against the architect, one of the architects of the drug war. But as it stands now, I cannot sit back and be a part of allowing any more of this. So that's where I'm at with it. I'm just kind of wondering where people are and what they what they think about that. And I understand this is extremely political, maybe personal to some. So speak more philosophically if you want. But and this doesn't mean we need to enter into a debate. Just what you think about it. Rick, why don't you let us know who's here and find out how people feel about this election coming up?
Well, clearly the only logical decision for a voter in my mind is to remove Trump from office. Democrats in the White House would be a benefit to the cannabis industry. We just had a white paper that was issued earlier this week that just talked about that. Although Joe Biden's platform is not progressive in the way that I would like it to be progressive, it certainly proposes changes that are not being proposed by the Trump administration, and certainly advances cannabis laws in ways that you certainly couldn't get away with under an Attorney General William Barr, or you could have gotten away with under a previous Attorney General William Sessions. Deborah Young, always opinionated about Democratic Republican politics. Let's hear your take. Biden, Trump, man. What?
Well, obviously Biden. One slight correction: it's not Biden's platform. It's going to be the Democratic Party platform, and that'll be hammered out around convention time. So, we'll see what happens. Yeah, his record really sucks on a lot of shit. But I got to tell you, if Trump offered everybody 12 plants and a mule, I'm still not voting for fucking Trump. I don't care. I'm not a one-issue voter. There's a lot of crazy shit going on in the world today, or in our country today, that I blame on Trump. He's a racist. He's misogynistic. He's a xenophobe. I mean, everything that's abhorrent to me, this man is. So yeah, I can't understand people that I know who are saying that possibly they're going to vote for Trump, or maybe they'll vote for a third party, or maybe they won't vote at all. All of those options are not an option. We're going to end up with Trump again. You vote for a third party, we're going to have Trump. You do a write-in on somebody besides Biden, we're going to have Trump. You skip it all together, we're going to have Trump. Is that what we want? I don't think so. I mean, I think that we're just going to have to look at this and decide that we are not a one-issue group here. We're just not. You got to look at the bigger picture, and you have to also be able to think more than one step ahead and see the direction that things are going. So, I mean, that's what I think. So, yeah, I will be voting Biden. I'm not working on his campaign, but I'm going to vote for Biden.
I think that although cannabis may be the most important issue to me on a lot of things, it's certainly not the only issue I look at. And you must evaluate candidates in the totality of their platform and their presentation. Jim Salim with a big serious face over there.
So serious.
Jim, tell us what's on your mind, my friend.
Well, I'm afraid I'm not going to vote for president this election, because, and I got to disagree with Deb a little bit here on the fact that one issue doesn't change a person's mind, but in my case, it does. If you're going to play so stupid when it comes to cannabis and what you know about cannabis from being with Barack Obama's administration, and not come out and suggest that there's a chance for legalization or some sort of support for cannabis, you're not going to get my vote. I'm not going to vote for president because of that. And I recently wrote a letter to Joe Biden saying just that. And it's not just that cannabis is non-toxic and it's good for you and it's not as bad as alcohol or cigarettes. It's also because there's a pandemic, because we have a healthcare crisis, because we have an economic crisis, and because we have a big difference in who's getting incarcerated for using cannabis as far as people of color are concerned. So these are reasons that it's so obvious that if anyone on his staff understands cannabis and what it can do for this country, the fact that they're not even coming out and saying anything is really troublesome to me. So,
But if they do, Jim,
that's
I
why I
just
look
very
so
quickly,
straight.
just quickly interrupt. If they do, say Joe Biden comes out tomorrow and hits all your cannabis points. I mean, is that your only objection to him? Because I mean,
Yeah.
that's the only objection is cannabis.
Well,
Okay, and would you believe him? Would you believe him if he did a turnaround? Because I think a lot of people would not. A lot of people would say, "Hey, I don't think so." I think that his policies have been pretty crappy, but I don't think he'll fight us on it. You know what I mean? I don't think he'll put up
his
these.
VP. If his VP has any leaning towards cannabis, that's going to help his case, I think.
Yeah,
But
it could be.
this is one issue that also snowballs into other issues that is reflective of his stance on other things and how he's playing this, and he's playing dumb on it. I think he's just playing dumb, and I need people to be more honest and upfront about the truth.
Agreed. More honest
Yeah.
and upfront about the truth. That's for sure.
Transparency for sure.
Colin McDougall, speaking of honest and upfront, you are both of those things right now, sir, facing a camera. Tell us your feeling about the whole Trump-Biden triangle of love.
Definitely a triangle of love, I guess, to a lot of it's a gross triangle of love. I don't really want to imagine it. But I still, recently I was elected the treasurer of the Michigan Democratic Party's Cannabis Caucus, that right after Jazz Cabbage Cafe the other day. So, in a way I have to I feel like I should still vote Democrat, and I voted for Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama 2 times, so I'm still gonna continue to vote Democrat. I think I know it's like there's 2 evils, and one of them's a little bit lesser evil than the other. I consistently am like trying to push my congresswoman about cannabis reform and other drug policy reform issues. I think that we should still continue with Joe Biden. I think he eventually is going to crack. I feel like Donald Trump's really not going to move in any which direction, and there's not much hope there for moving the needle. But you know, at least if we can get some of the different things that we had, states' rights protections under the Barack Obama administration back, and just if he could listen to more of the progressives in the party. And I know there's a ton of people that are probably telling him all the time, like, you got to move on this issue. And I know the science is there, and it's not. He's part of like just a different generation too, that's just so afraid of it, and it's just hard to move those people. I'm pretty actually still bitter though about the Bernie Sanders loss. I just feel that like too many people around here that I knew voted for him, and just a very few people voted for Joe Biden. I just thought that was kind of weird for my bubble. So I was just talking to my friend. He lives in Vietnam today about it, and he teaches English out there, and he has been laid off since like February. And he was really upset that he couldn't come and vote in the primary, or he couldn't mail a ballot or anything. But yeah.
So I think the greatest degree that affects change, the greatest thing that affects change when a president comes in, is the people he chooses for his administration, the attorney general, the justices he appoints, the people that are infrastructure. And from that respect, I think having a Democrat in the office would be better. Julie Barron, thank you for joining us on Jazz Cabbage Cafe. You've been listening to all this. You know what the question is. Bring it home for us.
Well, hi, everybody. I very strongly just want to see Trump out of office. And I will be continuing, like Colin said, continuing to mourn the loss of the option of Bernie Sanders. I still feel that every day. And I think I'll feel it all the way up until I go vote. And I think that vote cast, I'll still feel that way, but I will vote for Joe Biden in the sole hope of getting Trump out of office. That's really the bottom line for me.
Yep.
I hate to have that, my mind, I'm going to do one thing, but like everything in my body tells me not to do that. Is a really hard place to be in. I like to be in full alignment of the decisions I make and move forward with. And this is not going to be a decision I make out of full alignment, but I will do it nonetheless.
Yep. As a Bernie supporter, I am feeling that pain. I unfortunately feel like regardless of which presidential candidate gets into office, we're probably going to be wishing Bernie had been the guy for 4 years after the election as well. But the reality is, as Jamie mentioned a bit, if we look at the totality of the changes that have been instituted in 3.5 years that Donald Trump's been in office, we've seen a conservative sweep of justices being appointed by the Senate almost as their exclusive duty. Senators complain all the time. That's all we do is approve judges, approve judges. They've corrupted the park system, almost destroyed the EPA. They started this ridiculous Space Force, which should have just been funding for NASA instead of some kind of
that's one
guys
thing I
with
can get
laser
behind.
weapons. The fact is,
It's ridiculous.
so many different ways they've changed the laws and the structures and the way that we have our society. We need some correction to that. The other thing is, there's been a corruption of the image of the United States planetarily. Okay, every nation looks at Donald Trump and they drop a dookie in the middle of the street. So we can't have that being the symbol of the United States of America anymore. I wouldn't choose Joe Biden to be my flagship, my pride and joy, but it is a better image than what we've had already. The other, we've got to get back into the World Health Organization. We've got to get back into the Paris Accord. There are some things that we were taken out of under bad advice. We need to return back to world leadership. I think retracting away from our role as the largest economy in the world is a disingenuous and unintelligent move that really betrays the people of the planet. We have to lead on climate change. We have to lead on peace. We have to lead on demilitarization. There's so many ways that we could be the force that makes positive change on the planet, but instead we've regressed. Sermon over.
Yes.
One thing I want to point out, though, that in a way, Bernie Sanders still kind of is winning. Like, if you think about it, in like the last couple of years, like we've had so many more people like become progressive Democrats and that have entered like the Democratic Party, or like running in districts where normally Democrats won't win, but they're progressive and they can talk.
While we didn't hit a home run with cannabis and Biden right now, a lot of other Bernie type progressive positions on issues have entered into
the platform, into the whole Democratic platform. He's pushed that, and I think that you'll see more of that. I think you're so right, Colin.
Yeah, he has instituted, and people saw that when they said, okay, let's do cannabis the way it's supposed to be done. It wasn't the end of anybody's political career. The sky didn't fall. And actually, they saw the number of people rise up and say, hell yeah. That really impressed people. They may not have believed it, but Jamie talks about it all the time. When the medical program was voted on in 2008, got more votes than the governor that year. When the legalization program was voted on in 2018, it got more votes than the governor that year.
Yeah.
So it's been more popular than our leaders in both times we've censused the people. So how can you deny it? You'd want that.
Still not made the kind of priority that those kind of numbers would reflect.
I know.
Well,
And it just reflects the history of cannabis as a prohibition, and the job that continues going forward. It didn't stop with legalization. We've still got a lot of minds to change, a lot of communities to get to accept cannabis. We had a big win in Lapeer last night where we did a big Zoom presentation, talked to city council. I was able to give a presentation 2 separate occasions. They read my letter and then I got a verbal also. And they did vote yes. They voted to allow cannabis adult use sales in the 6 dispensaries that are currently there. The next move, of course, is to remove the cap on dispensaries if we can, on provisioning centers.
We'll get Bernie Jockins on here maybe the next week or two to get an update on how that continues to go.
The fly guy himself, Bernie Jockins, man with his own style. Sure.
Yep, attorney in that area.
Leather cowboy hat. Nobody else has one.
really conservative Republican area.
Right.
Represents the minority of the opposite side.
Attorneys very well connected. There were several attorneys that spoke last night that had clients there too. There were also an attorney from a company in California that makes edibles that is locating to Lapeer and was going to make a big purchase of a land there. He wanted to encourage them to adopt fully the adult use program so that when they come as a processor, they can participate in that program too. Saying we want adult use is more than just saying we want the retail stores. It's also allowing the processors or the transport companies or the testing facilities that are there to participate fully in the market that's taking place. And those guys have customers that exceed the borders of Lapeer City. So to say that they could only deal with medical and they couldn't deal with anything adult use would really cripple their business model. And I mean, we've always established already that it's better for the citizenry to have adult use cannabis in their community than not. I mean, that's not even up for debate among us anymore.
At least not amongst us.
Amongst time before the commercial medical program essentially fades away.
Right.
And there are already retailers, waiting for 2021 when they no longer have to renew a medical license, which can just go adult use. And I'd like to see medical remain as a significant part of Michigan's cannabis profile for a long time, but the incentives to drop medical are just very great.
I can tell you at the botanical company, part of our vision is to maintain that component. Even when we drop the formal medical licensing, we'll still have products that are designed around health and wellness and not necessarily just partying or whatever. And we'll drop the excise tax percentage for patients. So 10% off for all patients. Don't have to pay the equivalent to the excise tax and those types of things.
The state has making getting your a medical marijuana card much less expensive. It's a 2-year program instead of a 1-year program. It's $40, and the list of conditions has been expanded. Telemedicine's been added. The state is doing everything they can to allow people to inexpensively enroll as medical patients in the system, and yet still we see a decline in those numbers. So
I renewed my card the other day. It took a week to come in.
that's amazingly fast.
Mine did it like that too. Yeah.
One time when it was like 8 or 9 months.
I know.
When you
Legitimate.
got your letter, you're legally vulnerable.
Oh yeah. But
Legislators were pulling Department of Community Health members into committee to say, hey, how come you guys cannot get this job done right? And they would say, oh, we're swamped. We don't have enough people. We didn't understand.
It was fucking shooting. Oh my God.
yeah, no, it's very easy now. But don't you think too that people are more comfortable sometimes with the medical license and saying, oh, I'm using cannabis medically than, than just throwing it wide open and saying, oh yeah, I'm using it to get high. I think a lot of people rest on that. What do you think?
Well, I think I heard that last night in the Lapeer discussion. A lot of people said medical was a joke. People just got their card so they could legally get high. And now that they don't have to have a card, they don't want to have one. That's all you're doing is,
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying some people, especially of an older generation, are more comfortable saying, yeah, I use it because, I got a little arthritis, and to say, oh, well, it makes me feel kind of good, so I'm using it. You know what I mean? It's more of a comfort zone for some people.
There are people, and you're absolutely right. And there are people in employment situations that'll still find it necessary to get a medical card in order to get certain privileges from their employer.
Yeah.
And Child Protective Services may respect a medical card for cannabis use and possession more than maybe. I mean, there are certain places which it's going to be an advantage. And as far as I'm
driving too, driving with,
Yep, there are different rules for medical marijuana patients as far as carboxyls in your system.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different advantage. That's why I encourage people who are qualified as medical patients to continue their medical card. There's no disadvantage to having it. There's none, right? So it's $40 and a visit to a doctor who you should probably see every year or two anyway.
And probably cheaper cannabis for you.
Yep.
So there you go.
Well, when I went into a provisioning center that has recreational, and I've done this twice now, they say, okay, so are you a medical patient or are you here for adult use? And I say, well, I'm a medical patient. They say, okay, this is all for you then. But if I was just an adult use person, there'd be a section I couldn't get to, the medical only.
It's like the porn section, right? With the adult.
Why did you go to that little explanation.
Well, you
there.
remember in Spencer's, it used to have the X-rated, and you had to go through a little curtain and shit, and that sales
Where
lady
all
be
the
watching.
vibrators and stuff were kept.
Yeah.
Yes, I do remember that actually.
See, I
She
knew you
went there
did.
'cause we're all in quarantine.
What's that, Jim?
She went there because we're all in quarantine.
What the hell?
Yeah, we're all thinking about it because we're all
Yeah,
quarantined.
you should
Uh,
already have a vibrator if that's what you're thinking about, Jim. You should already have one, dude.
No, ma'am, I don't.
Oh, well, okay.
That is a sound drop I will cut out and use
We'll
later.
have to see Jim's collection next week.
Yeah, I want to see the collection. Yeah.
Segment time.
Yeah, no, but in reality, go ahead. Go ahead. Deb.
I was just going to say, speaking of that, Jamie, isn't there an announcement about a road cleanup? I mean, speaking of road dildos and stuff, don't you have some kind of a, yeah.
Sure. Wouldn't have been surprised if Ray would have shown up by now and we could have talked about it with him because he'll be included, but Northeast Michigan Normal does a roadside cleanup every year.
Right.
And this time
It's like a scavenger hunt. I mean, there's like giant dildos discarded on the side of the road. These guys are fine. It's
last
the
year these
truth.
guys were picking up garbage off the side of this,
Yeah.
this overpass and things like that, and with a pitchfork and cleaning
Yeah.
it up with a double-headed dildo. So we'll
Big
know something
latex
fine
thing.
this time.
They speared it with.
Yeah.
So this one's going to be near our place, a botanical company in East Tawas area.
Oh, guaranteed butt plugs out in that area for sure.
Razor Ray Reyes is going to be out there outside jamming and helping distribute water and stuff to the volunteers and the patrons.
I think it'd be great if the rest of us are picking up garbage and Ray is just strumming his guitar, walking along, going, I'm the only
He's
Mexican.
like the
I'm not
Pied
working."
Piper. All
Right,
the
yes.
rats.
You guys are working and I'm not.
Ray's gonna kill you.
Singing a song of emancipation.
Where and when? Where and when is that?
This is July 25th and
Okay.
in East Tawas, Michigan,
Tawas, Michigan.
Northeast Michigan Normal is putting it on, and our company, the botanical company, is going to support it and
All those
Yeah,
cool people
t-shirts
up
and-
there.
food and water and stuff like that for people. But volunteers are welcome, and I'll be out there doing it, picking up the garbage again.
You can
Mainly
find
cigarette butts, by the way.
links to the
Cigarette butts and dildos.
links to the page are available on the Cabbage Cafe Facebook page and also on personal pages too. Shelley, we had a question we asked everybody earlier today before you joined us, and the question was about Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. There was a recent debate in which Biden's past history about cannabis was really stopping people from wanting to support his candidacy. And some of us maintain that we just have to do whatever it takes to get Trump out of office. Could you share your thoughts on this, please?
Oh man, both options seem so scary and ridiculous. Like I don't understand why we don't have another candidate besides Joe Biden. I don't understand how he rose to the front. And between the two of them, I'm still just, I think, kind of in shock. That is my feelings on the matter at this point.
Well, there are a lot of people
Like, I
that
don't
won't make up their mind right
understand.
till November,
Yeah, that's okay. It's because it is difficult for a lot of people, and there's a varying.
Yeah.
I've been in a couple different places on this discussion.
Well, and I think that Biden has already been seen to have changed his position on cannabis to come to more of a pro-cannabis attitude. I think in the months approaching the election, he's likely to make some more pro-cannabis statements as as his team convinces him, as Jamie mentioned earlier, this is really the winning platform. Your people behind the scenes have to be saying to him, look, get behind this pot thing. Hold your nose if you got to, old man, but let's do
But
this.
nobody's going to believe him, Rick, at this point. It's just like the Pat Miles shit. When you do a turnaround really quickly, nobody believes you. If you evolve into something, people say, oh yeah, he understands the issues, but to turn around the whole thing. I feel that especially the skeptical cannabis community, because we are so skeptical, people are going to be like, oh yeah, bullshit. But I think most people will hold their nose and go ahead and vote for him.
And just to remind
Well,
people,
this morning I read an article, and I can't even remember where it was from now, but about sometimes the president that comes in and makes sweeping changes is not someone you would think would. It's more about the country being at a point where they're open enough or traumatized enough or everything's weird enough to where sweeping changes can be made. And the article was about, he's, I guess he doesn't
I read a
have.
similar article, and they're talking
Did
about
you?
Lyndon Baines Johnson being like a president who
Well,
is
that's
kind
what I said, LBJ. I think I said it on the show last week. LBJ, he put forward the civil rights bills. Who would think LBJ, a dude from Texas, a real conservative
Texas
dude
Democrat.
from Texas, but very conservative, Southern
Yeah.
Texas Democrat. He came in
Southern
and all the
Democrat.
sweeping civil rights move, and it didn't just happen. He pushed those reforms, just out of nowhere, just like Shelley's saying, just out of nowhere. He's doing it. So somebody.
And I also think it might be like who's around him, because Trump has been the guy who has thrown so many people under the bus. Whatever you think about Trump, one thing is 100% a fact is that he's thrown so many people under the bus. He's fired so many people. He's been like, here's my right-hand guy, and then thrown people under the bus left and right. I feel like if they can get people around Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And we've seen what this
steer him in the right direction,
Yeah, because he can work with people. She's right. Trump can't. Trump, if you contradict it in any way, he's done with you. So why would the best people want to work with somebody like that? You wouldn't. You'd be running away from his shit,
Yeah.
So in the last few months, we've seen the direction this administration or Department of Justice takes on cannabis. They've tried to get or have gotten information from weed maps on companies that have listed in California who are not necessarily properly licensed under the commercial system there.
William Barr obstructing potential merger approvals by the federal government,
while admitting to others that he's doing it simply because of his personal disdain.
Did we miss 420?
An indication of where Trump is. He's been in there for a while. There's no reason to believe that that direction is going to change. We do have some reason to believe that Biden at least gets pushed enough by the people around him to get to a states' rights thing, or to even just get to legalization. I mean, once that ball gets rolling and there's enough support for him around it, hopefully it can be pushed a little further. But it is a better situation, I think, on that issue alone. But again, the bigger picture issue of the Trump administration, the damage it's done up to this point, is so important that there's no question for me. And it's not even based on cannabis.
Time for a break.
I don't know if we have anything we have to find something to play.
I can.
Why Colin can sing or something.
Colin,
Well, we're going to try to find something to play, but we always screw something up. But we'll try again.
That was great. Yeah.
And,
More.
Cannabinize. We went right through 420, so there'll be some catching up. Body's not used to skipping 420.
Sea dog, sea murder.
Hey guys,
got the
I'm getting
minute.
ready to go. I'm getting ready to go into my massage, but I made chocolate chip ice cream and mango sorbet
Oh,
for the post-show gathering. So just
So
FYI,
I love
FYI, if you
sorbet.
were on the fence about, about the post-show gathering, there will be frozen treats. So, and I will be extremely relaxed because I'm getting my first massage in a really long time.
Yeah.
So I'll see you there.
Cool.
Enjoy. I thought those looked like scrubs that she was wearing. Now I know. That's massage clothes, I guess.
Massage sounds good.
I actually had a hot rock and CBD oil massage at Vehicle City. That was probably February. It was awesome. I think Colin is trying to find something non-pornography
so we
to
can
play.
something to go.
It's a small list of items on the computer that he's got.
And then we're going to have Brianna DiSalvio.
DiSalvio. And I have to give her the link to zoom in. All right. Sounds good. Let's take a break and we'll do that.
Who do you want to put on? I got
Nice. Smooth transition.
Can I put David Rudoy on?
Sure. Then we'll have him on in a week or two to talk about it.
Shut up and sit down.
Can you guys hear it? Okay. 7 minutes.
So to have our next speaker here, he's all queued up. I can see he's got the right shirt on, well dressed for today's event. I would call him a colleague of mine, but our relationship is much stronger than I like to call him friend and family. And he's a great lawyer, and been in the trenches with him a number of times, and we've had nothing but success together. And I know he's very excited to be speaking to the crowd. He's been a big advocate beyond just his law practice as a marijuana reformist. He was pivotal and very active in the recreational law committee writing, and also with the movement that got it passed. Without further ado, please welcome my dear friend, colleague, and barrister, David Bourgeois.
What's up, everybody? Thank you so much, Michael. Family, brothers for always, brothers in arms in this fight for marijuana and beyond that. Happy Hash Bash, everybody. We're doing it from home. I think it's been pretty nice. I can't, I'd rather be out there on the Diag, but it's been nice watching from the comfort of my couch and getting to kind of hang out with all you people, all my friends. Had you up on the TV. So let's do this again next year in person, but this was a great replacement given the circumstances. I think there's some things, we know Hash Bash is a protest. So a lot of people ask me, well, what are you protesting now? We did it, we legalized marijuana. Well, as we know, marijuana is not fully legalized here in Michigan. It is much more legal than it was. And we did the best job we could making the best law. I believe we still have the best law that exists in the United States, but we still need more. I was just on the phone with my best friend from Amsterdam who brought up an important point. It's not really legal because we can't do it in public yet. And I do think that's something, we didn't want to put that on our ballot initiative. We were afraid it would be received badly by people. But if you could smoke a cigarette somewhere, you should be able to smoke a marijuana joint because marijuana is much, much safer. Secondhand smoke from marijuana probably has the medicinal value that the first smoke has, whereas cigarettes kill you. So that's one thing we got to work on. Number two, expungement. I can't talk about this enough. We wanted it in the original bill. We just could not. We are worried for legal reasons that we couldn't get it in there, but right now, the state of Michigan and states all over our country are making money. The state itself is making money from marijuana while leaving these convictions on people's records so that people are denied jobs, they're denied apartments, they're denied credit over doing what is literally the state is profiting from now. It's state-run business. The state is licensing and profiting and making tax dollars off of this industry while the people who blaze the trail for this essential medicine, we call it essential now, even during COVID-19. The people that were providing it before, in my opinion, were essential people back then, but they were criminalized. We need to take it off their criminal records. It's fucking time. And we need to work on national legalization. Until the day, right now, what we all are protesting while we smoke a joint on our couches is there's still a law federally. We might not feel the effects of it, but it still says you're a criminal. That all of us that smoked a joint today are criminals. And that, in my mind, the federal government is the criminal for leaving it that way. We got to end this. We still have a fight ahead. And we need to deschedule. The idea that marijuana is still scheduled as a Schedule 1, that video made by Comoran Law was amazing at explaining this. But it is insane. Schedule 1 means no medical value. By far, a majority of the states and a majority of the states that have the most population view this as medical. They voted it through as medical. The people of this country have spoken that marijuana is medicine, and it is still Schedule 1, which means no medical value. That is insane. I think the final thing that we are protesting is, although marijuana is a very important step in the decriminalization of drugs, we have to look at those entheogenic plants. Those provide so much healing to people. They're so important for people. They are bettering people's lives, and they're natural plants. And although what Matt said earlier about those plants, they do have some danger to them, but taken in the right circumstances, They need to be legalized. They're helping people's lives. So we still have a lot to protest today, but I also want to just note that we have a lot to be thankful for. We live in a state here in Michigan where marijuana is legal. There are many states that do not. We live in a state where I can hold up 2.5 ounces of weed while walking past an officer, and he can't say a word to me about that. And there was a hard fight between many different warriors who have already spoken today and many who did not speak today. It's been a fight going on since the start of Hash Bash, and we have made significant progress, and I think we all owe ourselves a pat on the back for that. And I think we have a lot to celebrate. We have a lot to be thankful for. I wish everybody stays safe during this crazy coronavirus time that we're going through. We're all going to make it through. We're going to make it through together. And I just wish everybody, when this is all over, to call one of their best friends or somebody who's in isolation and have a nice video joint with them. And just, be together during this weird, isolated time. Thank you, everybody. I'm happy fucking Hash Bash. We made it happen. And thank you to the Planet Green Trees crew for making this happen, because it is an important part of our culture. And we need to recognize it. And I'm very, very happy. I appreciate you guys so much for putting in all this work. Thank you, guys.
Oh, I hope it doesn't play this next. Where'd everybody go?
I'm about to show you the quickest and easiest way that anybody can make a steady income in the stock market.
Oh,
But
come on.
if you like being glued to your monitor, staring at charts all day long, working way too hard,
You have a
this is
commercial
not-
on your YouTube.
On the other hand, if you like quick, low-risk trades, with the click of a button, so you can spend more time doing what you love and come back after a nice day out on the golf course.
Fuck that. Hey, you like that commercial? We back at it?
I think so. Yeah. I
All
know
right,
we
so-
never went off live,
Yeah,
so
didn't necessarily intend to throw that commercial in there, but we got in anyway.
we're joined with Berg now too.
And Berg from Medical Mondays is here. And while we're waiting for our next guest, why don't you introduce him, Rick, and throw the question in.
No, I'm busy. You do it.
Rick is too busy. Do you like that commercial? Particular case, I will do it, and that is Berg, Jeff Milberg from Medical Mondays, who we invite on whenever he wants to come on and join us and chime in.
I'm actually up right now, man. I'm usually sleeping.
Usually on a reverse kind of a schedule, but he's here. And while we're waiting for our next guest, Berg, we're talking about the conflict that some have who have been involved in cannabis reform or criminal justice reform, of the history, the horrible history that Joe Biden has in that arena and being one of the architects of the drug war, versus the however you want to describe your assessment of the Trump administration's performance over the last few years. And while we want to protest against getting somebody who doesn't even understand how important it is to legalize cannabis, we have these other considerations behind it. And how are you dealing with that?
I personally I think they're both shit. I mean, I'm actually considering voting for Biden, but I don't even know, man. They're both pieces of shit in my book. It's crazy how people are just looking past all their fucking downfalls, like hitting on little girls and shit, like pedo shit. Like people are actually like looking past this. And
They both check off a bunch of really potentially horrible boxes, unfortunately. But.
Well, there's a
Like,
difference. Biden's ever been charged with a crime like that. Trump has. So.
There's videos of Biden hitting on little girls, man. Like there's video, there is audio proof. It just sickens me that, like, in this country, these are the only two choices that we have. Two pedos. I don't care. They're pedos in my
Yeah, but there's all these other huge considerations. In the reality that it's one or the other who will be our president. But we've had a range of responses here as we talked about this today. I mean, 75,000 people voted but sat out voting for president in 2016.
Oh yeah.
And Trump won by within 10,000 votes here. So,
I mean, I didn't vote just because of.
and Jim's talking about that in the position now, and you're kind of on the fence with it, and Shelley kind of was, and so that's, we have a range of, and I've been in a couple different places on this discussion, and it's the extreme ridiculousness and danger of the Trump administration is what I'm just going to vote for Biden for. And as Deb said, I'm not like working on his behalf or campaigning for him or jumping up and down about it or whatever. That's just the choice I'm going to make in totality of all the circumstances.
Yeah, I don't see how we have any other choice, seriously. I mean, I'm not up for 4 more years of this bullshit in this country. And I know that Biden is a dick, and I know that there's a lot of shit wrong with him, but he's not on that level. He's not on the same level, dude. Look at fucking what's going on,
Oh yeah, for sure.
Shit,
But it's like, I mean, really, like once we get this motherfucker out, we're gonna have to put up with 8 years of Biden.
Yeah, we're not
because if he gets in
4 years.
Well, it was brought up by somebody, and it's true that his selection of vice president, I think it was Jim.
It's going to be critical, yeah.
Very important.
Yeah, it's huge. That's going to be huge. Because I think if he knew who it was going to be, he'd have announced it already. Don't you think? I think he can't. He's trying to figure out what's going to be the best. I don't know. What do you all think? Who do you think?
Don't they wait till the convention for that, Deb? Don't they typically wait till the convention to announce that?
I don't
Or
think
like
so. I
days
think
before the convention. I feel like Tim Kaine kind of like popped up at the end of July, early August.
Tim Kaine, boy.
Tim Kaine.
That would not be,
what a weak choice.
something on that level would not be good.
God.
I mean, really, what we really need is vote. We need to totally. Oh, I'm sorry,
No,
but it's like the whole voting is total bullshit. Electoral college, it's like, okay, yeah,
Electoral college.
Everybody go out and vote, and then what did you say?
I said electoral college.
Oh, my bad. Whatever.
It's just me being
Archie Bunkerism over there. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's total bullshit. Like,
okay.
the whole voting system is bullshit.
Hey, we've got an interview coming up here with Brianna. Is she online?
Yep.
Fantastic.
She's on mute.
Well,
hi guys, can you hear me?
We sure can. Well, welcome to the Jazz Cabbage Cafe, Brianna DiSalvio. Brianna's a Cannabis Legal Group paralegal who started her career at Howard & Howard Law Firm, where she assisted attorneys and paralegals, earned a Bachelor of Arts degree from Hope College, and her paralegal from Oakland Community College. She recently wrote an article in the Cannabis Law Journal called Diversity in the Cannabis Industry, Working Towards Equal Access and Opportunity. Brianna DiSalvio, welcome to Jazz Cabbage.
Thank you for having me.
What was your incentive to write this article for the Cannabis Law Journal?
I think just it felt like the right thing to write about and research a little bit more, just with the current events and the Black Lives Matter movement really trying to gain momentum and bring attention to a lot of the systemic issues and racial tensions currently, and that have obviously been going on for a long time, and kind of bring light to that, and also some of the recent changes with the cannabis industry, and trying to bridge that gap in the cannabis industry and allowing more opportunities for people who have been impacted greatly by these systemic issues. So I felt it was important to write about and, kind of touch upon, just our experiences here at the Cannabis Legal Group with that.
I'd like to share with our listeners and our viewers a couple of the stats that you included in your article. And these originate from the Marijuana Business Daily's 2017 chart, which is a An interesting thing that they do. As you can see, 81% of marijuana business owners are founders. We're white, with 5.7 is identifying as Hispanic and Latino, 4.3 as African American, and 2.4 identifying as Asian. Although those statistics may be 3 years old, that's still a pretty good snapshot of our community at large, especially here in Michigan. You're with the Cannabis Legal Group, so you talk to all kinds of people. You think those numbers are pretty reflective of what we have here in the Great Lakes State?
Yeah, I do. And I think, you know, I touched upon it briefly in the article, but one of the biggest issues I think is in terms of the cost. You know, it's not an even playing field, and it definitely is a barrier. And that's, you know, a lot of what the, you know, social equity plan touches upon is trying to give people those opportunities that maybe don't have, you know, the finances or aren't connected to the wealthy investors that others might be.
Access to generational capital, access to real estate and personal property that typically are not seen as prevalent in the African-American community.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. You also mentioned African Americans being 4 times more likely than whites to be arrested for marijuana possession historically. That's true of persons of color, regardless of their ethnicity. What have you seen here in Michigan as far as efforts to sort of reverse that trend, or at least to accentuate our cannabis industry as having some of those representatives in higher positions of power?
Yeah, you know, there are changes trying to be made in terms of, you know, legislation and with expungement. I touched upon I think it's the Michigan Clean Slate Act. Nothing has been, the bill hasn't gone through yet in its entirety, but it is something that is in the works, and it would expunge those lower marijuana crimes and get those off the record. You know, because they're, you know, that is something that can disqualify you as having, you know, a criminal record.
The Cannabis Legal Group in Royal Oak, just right down the street from where we're at here in Redford. We've had Barton on the show many times. Do you have any clients of the firm that you really think are doing an exceptional job at diversity or social justice and equity that you'd like to call out and give credit to?
Any particular clients?
Yes.
Yeah, one particular client group, Nature's Medicines, they have developed, you know, with all of their applications, you know, they have social equity plans in place, and they're really trying to have strategic partnerships with, you know, diverse populations in terms of vendors and people that, you know, they are that's going to supply them. So really trying to make those efforts.
We're really looking for success stories in Michigan that we can point to so that we can show people what it looks like to be maybe more racially sensitive or perhaps more ethnically diverse in the workforce.
Yeah, and I think that that's also to touch upon that it is a requirement now with the adult use application that every applicant has a social equity plan in place. So it's not just going to be 1 or 2. It will be a requirement for any person that's looking to get into that industry.
Well, although that's true, Brianna, isn't it also true that that's left very vague, and that each individual company can decide what their own social equity strategy might be? And some of them are more superficial and ineffective than others because certain people's hearts are not behind it. Wouldn't that be fair to say?
Yeah, that would be fair to say. I think, you know, with all of our clients, you know, when we're developing those social equity plans, we encourage them to think about something that's not just going to be, you know, verbiage on paper, that it is going to be something that they will be implementing, even if it's something as, you know, simple as, you know, having always having resources available or doing some type of outreach, making it something tangible, and then, you know, that is realistic that they will, you know, implement.
Brianna, I appreciate you joining us here on Jazz Cabbage today. Our segment is nearing an end. Can you tell us how to reach out to you at Cannabis Legal Group if people would like to follow up?
Yes, you can send me an email, which is Brianna, BRIANNA @cannabislegalgroup.com. You can always send me an email there, or you can give me a call at the office, which is 248-541-2600.
Brianna, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for authoring such a well-researched article
Yes.
on the subject.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
I'm glad that we could touch on that again. And
It's a great
keep that
subject,
prevalent, yeah.
and it'll be, of course, a big topic throughout the course of 2020. Jamie, we have another guest. That's all right.
We did, yeah. So we had these kind of backed up a little bit. Sorry about that. I definitely would like to continue that conversation, so we'll have her back on for sure. But I know that on the schedule here, we do have the Democratic candidate, one of the Democratic candidates for Oakland County prosecutor, Karen McDonald. And thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. And a couple of us got a chance to hear a lot of your views on the Planet Green Tree show with Michael Comorn not too long ago. And so some of that stuff I'd like to touch on again and pick up where it left off, but also give you the floor too, to discuss where you are on cannabis and other issues. But I just want to point out to a lot of people that in Oakland County, the prosecutor has been the prosecutor there for years. Jessica Cooper has been one of the single most worst enemies to our movement and an obstructionist to the implementation of the laws as intended. And the idea that somebody would come in and displace her and otherwise do a good job but be more reasonable on this issue is definitely appealing. And we heard a lot about that the other night on Planet Green Trees. And so kind of hoping that people understand that and want to support. But I guess where I kind of leave off with that discussion and want to leave it to you to incorporate into your answer is when taking over such a position in which the system has gone one way, kind of bent one way on the issue for so long, and the sheriff's department is looking at a particular way, not really interested in being reasonable with it and stuff, and you have all the intentions in the world of changing things and taking a different approach, how realistically difficult or easy are you expecting that to be? How does that get done if you were to take over?
Well, thank you for having me. I love talking about what I'm doing. I'm running, of course, in the Democratic primary against Jessica Cooper, who has been in office for 12 years, will be 12 years, on August 4th. And I stepped down from being an Oakland County Circuit Court judge. Had to step down a year ahead of the filing deadline when you run for a partisan seat. Before that, I was in private practice for about 7 years. And prior to that, I was an assistant prosecutor. So I'm definitely running on a progressive platform. I believe that we need reform and change in Oakland County. Not only is Oakland County not really embraced any progressive criminal justice reform, Oakland County is actually lagging behind almost every county in the state with regard to a lot of things. The first and foremost, treatment courts. Jessica Cooper doesn't participate in treatment courts or drug treatment court, Veterans Court. I have a real issue with that. I have an issue with the way that she criminalizes behavior that with children. I have an issue with the fact that she's generally just closed-minded and, in my mind, not sensible or smart about crime. I am a member of Oakland County. I'm a parent. We all want the county to be safe. But what we don't want is wasted resources incarcerating low-level nonviolent offenders. And we especially don't want our tax dollars spent criminalizing and penalizing and prosecuting behaviors that the voters have already spoken should not be criminal. So I can't really wrap my head around why that's still happening. I'm in favor of expungement of all possession of marijuana cases. I know this is considered progressive, but it really shouldn't be. It just, to me, just makes sense. And to answer your specific question, I have received so much support. It's unprecedented that somebody challenging a 12-year incumbent would have the endorsements and support that I've received. I've been endorsed by the Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, the Attorney General, 7 of our Dem legislatures, the UAW, the MEA. I mean, I get a new endorsement almost every single day. The Oakland County Democratic Black Caucus. I just got an endorsement from Working Families. The ACLU, it does, of course, doesn't endorse, but they're actively sending out literature and text messages and emails supporting me as a candidate. So there's so much support, and of course, everything's more difficult in times of COVID. But I really have a lot of hope and feel very good about my opportunities and chances on August 4th. And I'm looking to work and listen to every member of the community, especially yours. So that's where my position is, and I would welcome questions.
Nice. So I understand that we're saying like it makes sense that we don't enforce this and stuff like that, but I think part of the problem is that the sheriff and the department has been used to like looking at this in a certain way. And what is it that you get those? Is it just a matter of telling them, hey, we're just going to do this differently from now on, or is there some kind of a process to change that thinking that's been in place?
Look, there's a reason why the prosecutor is the most critical player in criminal justice reform and the criminal justice system. They decide who's going to be charged and what they're going to be charged with. So if charges are investigated and presented to the prosecutor's office, it is their decision whether or not to actually charge. And if my office makes a decision that certain cases will not be charged, then it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to be investigated.
Right. Okay. And I know that sounds great. And if it's that simple, I
mean, it doesn't happen overnight. And I think it's going to take a lot of, and I feel like that's one of my strengths. I'm not looking to come in and make a lot of enemies, but I have a clear, distinct agenda about what I think should happen. And I'm going to get there one way or another. My hope is that people will work cooperatively. But the thing is, there's a lot of people who say, well, you've probably gotten a lot of opposition to this. People accuse you of being soft on crime. And it's actually the opposite. It really doesn't matter which group of people I talk to. I have to be candid. They all want us as a nation to be smarter about incarcerating people. And every one of us really wants people home, if at all possible, paying their bills, going to work, and parenting their children. That's what all of us want. And that makes us safer. Everyone agrees violent criminals should be incarcerated if they pose a significant threat to our community. We all agree to that. And so I don't think it's going to be such an opposition. And I also want to point out that Oakland County went blue last cycle. It's going blue this cycle. And Sheriff Bouchard is in office, and I don't know whether he will retain that seat or not, but if he does, he will be, in my firm belief, the only Republican in the countywide electeds.
Is there indication, any polling data anywhere of how the races for prosecutor and sheriff are looking at the moment?
We don't really do polls the traditional way people think of polls, but the polling that we have done suggests a clear path to victory for my race. In terms of, I don't have a tangible thing I could point to tell you what I think is going to happen in the sheriff's race. I just know that I think Bouchard has made a career out of trying to placate a lot of different people. I just don't see him being voted out of office, but it's possible. Either way, I'm focused on my race, and I'm gonna bring reform to Oakland County regardless of who the sheriff is.
Well, I mean, that sounds refreshing because even there, there could be some obstacles there and some conflict there at times when there's a system that's been in place for so long, and now it's time for a change. You're right, it's not overnight, but to get that started and to make those changes when and where possible immediately it's something that we'd like to see more often all over the place. It's kind of obvious,
and again, I just really want to stress, we're not dealing with a prosecutor who just doesn't believe in criminal justice reform. We're actually dealing with a prosecutor who she's not even in step with very conservative law and order people. I don't know anybody who thinks that we shouldn't participate or invest in in treatment courts. It doesn't make any sense at all. And, you know, we have a prosecutor who has so much power, in my mind, the most powerful official in the county, who is just lagging behind for reasons that are unknown, and not really willing to listen to anybody else's point of view.
It's tough to unseat a Democrat at this particular time. It takes another Democrat to do it. You have only about 2 weeks to go before the primary election. Isn't that true?
Okay, I would like to say it's 3 weeks because it's 3 weeks from today. Don't rush me. Yes, we have 3 weeks. We have 3 weeks. And again, I just want to stress, you know, I'm working extremely hard. The support I've received is really it's outstanding. And
certainly indicates that other Dems would like to see change too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. That's exactly what it says. You know, it's most of these people willing to come out and say, no, I actually support the person challenging the 12-year incumbent. They're doing that for a reason, because she's been in office for 12 years and she's a female Dem. I mean, nobody knows her. Hardly anybody knows her. You all know her because you are enraged with some of the policies that she has. But for the general public, she's not very well known. And what has she done for the party? Not much is the answer. And I think people, I mean, look at what's going on in the world right now. Look at what's going on. You know, she recently, as of last month, we had our first candidate forum. And the first question we were asked is, what role does the prosecutor play in affecting racial disparity? And her answer was, we don't see racial disparity in Oakland County. Those are her words. And I'm sorry, but even if I wasn't running for prosecutor against her, I would be appalled. It just is a member of the county. I just don't think there's a place for people like that in elected office right now. I just don't. I
would agree.
You know, Oakland County oftentimes is viewed as Birmingham and Royal Oak, but let's not forget there's Oak Park, there's Hazel Park. You know, there's all the community Southfield. Oakland County is an extremely diverse county.
It really is.
She can't find racial disparity anywhere within its confines, huh?
That was her answer. And, you know, I'm glad that you brought that up. You know, it's 1.1 million people, but it's so diverse. We have really urban communities. We have very rural communities. We have communities of color. We have a Muslim population. We have a huge Chaldean population. There's a lot, there's great disparity in the county. And one of my really important principles that I want to bring to my administration that I really like to focus on is this idea of meeting with groups of people, advisory committees from different parts of our county, officials made up of communities of color, the defense bar, the cannabis people, to see and hear and listen, not just when you want to get reelected, but tell me what you think. I mean, the reality is it's a giant office. There's about 100 assistant prosecutors, and then there's staff, and you know, it's a $23 million budget. It's immense. So the elected official is quite removed unless you work really hard at not being removed. And one of the ways not to do that is to actually sit down with these advisory committees and hear what they have to say. That doesn't mean I'm going to do everything you all want me to do, but I can guarantee you I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to be receptive, and I'm going to be approachable, and I'm going to do what's right and what makes sense and what's in the public interest, not just to advance my personal agenda.
I'm glad. Thank you.
Right on. Yep.
You know, oftentimes your opponent has been referred to as a dino, a Democrat in name only. Oftentimes she looks a lot like a Republican in the way that she behaves. And the Republican interest in Oakland County is very, very strong. How do you resist some of the more conservative members of your constituency on issues that are really going to be important going forward in the next few years?
You know, I actually have a lot of Republican support. And I think that's because you are not in the minority, this group that is not happy with Jessica Cooper. I think at the end of the day, I think people really want to see what's right more than they want to see what party advances, at least right now with regard to criminal justice reform. That's what I see. And I talk to a lot of people. And of course, the downside in campaigning in COVID is it's just a whole new world. Nobody knows what it looks like. But the upside is I get to talk to a lot more people than I would have normally, because I can do 10 Zoom meetings a day. I could never have made it to 10 groups of people in a day. And I have to tell you, it just doesn't matter who I talk to. They are all unanimous, and we think we need change. We need somebody who is going to be reasonable and smart, and we don't necessarily need somebody who's going to agree with our position every single time, but we just want to have trust and faith in our elected official that she'll do the right thing. And, you know, I do have bipartisan support. In fact, that's pretty much the only thing she says about me is because I have Republicans supporting me, I must be a Republican, which I find really funny because she is the least Democrat I know. But I don't like to really get into the weeds with it. I mean, I really just want to focus like what my beliefs are. And I just want to say too, you know, the Republican challenger was found, I think she decided and filed the last day to file. I believe my big race is the primary, and I think the data shows that too. Not to say that I'm not going to continue to work hard. My prediction and hope is that I celebrate the night of August 4th, and then August 5th I get up and start working really hard again.
That'd be great. You have my
But
support.
I want to stress too, I need, I can't do it without help. I need your help. If you could go to my website, McDonaldforprosecutor.com. I have an active Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, McDonald for Prosecutor. Get involved. Of course, a contribution is always nice. We can't do anything without money. But I would love to, any kind of sharing of a post or getting out in your universe or really just communicating with people. Two things. It's really important to vote either by absentee ballot or at the polls on August 4th, and to cast their vote for McDonald in that primary, because I believe in my heart that we are all going to suffer if she is reelected. And, I wouldn't be in this if I didn't think I could win, and I do, but I need everybody's support.
Karen, one more time with the website, people can reach out.
McDonaldforprosecutor.com, and then I have active Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, McDonald for Prosecutor.
Okay, I am going to definitely donate.
Please donate if you can, any amount, but also go on my social media and share to your universe, your great aunt down the road, your social media group, whoever it is that you need. We need people to vote for so many reasons, but criminal justice reform is, I believe, the most critical issue facing our society right now. And that is why I'm in the game. And I can't do it unless I'm elected, and I can't get elected unless I have support. So I really want to thank you for having me on. And I'd also, just really encourage you to reach out for feedback or questions. I'm very approachable and available, and this is what I do all day long.
Thanks a lot. Hopefully we'll have you back on after the primary, after a victory.
I would love that. I would love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it, and definitely have our support.
Best of luck.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Two solid interviews.
There's a lot of, and I'd like to talk to Brianna longer, actually, get into how the communities handle social equity and some other things. I mean, I'm sure she's got some excellent perspective on some of those stuff from what she's doing in the law firm.
And she mentioned some legislation. I'd like to talk to her a little bit further too. We know that we're not necessarily completely happy with the expungement legislation regarding cannabis expungements. And I wondered if she had some insight about how Senator Irwin's bill might be favored, whether that might be advanceable or whether it's probably not, because it doesn't have the support of the Republicans.
I think we've talked ourselves into inviting Brianna.
Oh, for sure. She was good. Yep. And again, Cannabis Legal Group making good things happen for people. They're right here near the broadcast studios. And anytime you get someone that's willing to put their thoughts about social equity out in print and own it, and own the fact that they say people are not being treated right, that's an important thing to honor and respect.
Barton Morris, man, brilliant. He decided to dedicate himself to this area of law, and he's created quite a niche. Put together a really excellent firm. Covers a lot of ground.
Barton started at the Razor Law Firm. Isn't that correct?
He was there, and I think probably got turned on to the issue. I would imagine. He did a great job in some areas too when he was taking us.
I think Nick told me he was a student for sensible drug policy too when he was in law school or something.
That is excellent. Barton Morris. Wouldn't surprise me. He seems like not only is he a great lawyer, but he's also got that activist mindset, similar to Tom Levine and Matt Abel and Camorn and some of the other folks that we talk to on a regular basis. So And that's what we need. We need people who have the legal skills to be able to get us out of a jam, who read the law, know what it says, and are not afraid to go tell a judge you're wrong and follow it through until we get the correct result.
And then,
Last week, I was recording Shelley's show, and we were recording Mark Fate. He was on Berg's show, and his manager used to
yes, I
work
remember
the
that guy, yeah.
books at the cannabis law firm for Barton Morris. That was kind of weird.
Nice.
Mike Fate. It's a small.
Yeah, his manager just.
that guy's cool, man. Those guys both were pretty funny. Medical Mondays the other night. Yeah. That's Medical Mondays is Mondays 9 o'clock.
Yep. Every Monday on YouTube. Medical Mondays podcast.
And last night was cool, man. Had a lot of good people on. Darren McCarty.
Had Poopy Butthole on.
Always
It was
good.
kind of fun. Yes.
Yeah.
Dubbo.
My boy Stubbo from he's over in San Diego now.
Yeah. We had Cali, or we had Chicago. We had
Yep, Chicago too. Yeah. Shout out to find my loud.com.
Yeah, findmyloud.com. It's like a geocache where you can find his loud.
Yeah.
Like
things too.
hide pot and then give a geocache location and people go find it.
There's all types of cool shit though. Like sometimes it's just a spot where there's an excellent, beautiful scenery or something like that. And sometimes there's a physical item.
Yeah.
A lot of times it is cannabis, so which is particularly cool.
I've done geocaching for a couple of years. I was into it. I actually have outside of my my studio. I have a separate studio building outside behind the house, and I have a mailbox there. And I've turned that into a geocache. So it's got an official geocache label on it, and it's registered. And you're not really supposed to go on private property, so it's not the way you're supposed to do it. But yeah. So we have a troll doll in there just to let you know.
Shooting people.
Little troll doll with a shocky hair. Yeah.
So, and then Karen, another candidate. If we get a lot of these candidates in who we speak with on this show and who are out there running now, and there's been a lot more interest, it seems, in the democratic process, participating, getting, actually wanting to be elected in a decision-making capacity. Man, if some of these people really come together and we bunch up with them, really a shift in consciousness, get rid of the gerrymandering shit too.
Mm-hmm. We have a 2020 to 2030. That could be a decade of real change. We're talking about perhaps changing leadership on a national level, removing some of the obstructions to freedom that we've seen for a long time, and correcting some of the environmental issues that unfortunately have gone by the wayside while we're focused on COVID, while we're focused on Trump. But the environment is still just as bad as it was a year ago. All of those concerns that we had when we joined the Paris Accords are just as real. And the fact that we have dropped out of some of these international treaties and international organizations like the World Health Organization, these are mistakes that need to be corrected. And again, I mentioned it earlier, we have a role to assume as a planetary leader. We have the largest economy on the face of the earth. It is our duty to help smaller countries become more stable. When they endure natural disasters, they'll be more capable of helping themselves. When they have economic problems, they'll be more capable of helping themselves. And a stable economy brings a stable government too. So I'd love to see America be the planetary leader that we should be and assume our role instead of just watching other nations flail about and dissolve into chaos and revolution. We could be a stabilizing force without being a military power. American farmers are idle, and there is starvation in the world. How can these two things?
Way to the corporate farms, right? Wasn't that one of the issues?
Oh my goodness!
Fuck over the small farmer, but still vote for him.
Well,
sacrificing my farm.
Yeah, but we want to import Chinese pork because pork is a very dirty thing to produce, and we want all of that dirt to stay in China. But the fact is, there's people here that make their money raising pork and doing that industry, and by killing that, like we killed the textile industry, then you're enabling other places to take control over our economy. Look at right now, if you go to the store and look at certain things, especially electronic goods, which I tried to do the other day, because of the Chinese imports being stopped, there's a lot of goods in the United States that we take for granted are just automatically going to be there that ain't automatically there.
I want to point out while I'm thinking about it, Jim from Washtenaw County, there's a prosecutor, or there's a candidate running for prosecutor, Eli Savitt, who is quite progressive and would be awesome and would be, even though we haven't had a huge issue with the prosecutors out of Washtenaw County, obviously, over the years, he would be kind of a move forward in thinking in his thought. And in Wayne County, I can't think of the name, but there's somebody running against Kim Worthy who's widely regarded. I think the progressives have, in some, I'm not
Yeah,
sure about
Bernie Sanders endorsed her, and
Right.
John Legend
Do you know her name?
as well. So I don't remember her name. I just know.
So
that
look out
John
for the
Legend-
candidate for Wayne County.
Well, how is John Legend all up in this
John
race?
Legend.
I don't know. I don't know.
Hey, man, he's got a lot of attention. So
Nobody
cares what John
mentioned-
Legend thinks politically. That's who you vote for.
No,
Can't remember her name, but
But Kim Worthy has been
nobody
okay with a
in
lot of
here is
issues,
gonna
but
vote
she's
for
been bad.
Kanye.
Celebrity likes her, so she must be good.
That happens.
yeah, we didn't get into Kanye jumping in the race either yet this
Rick
week.
likes to get into that.
You know, actually, I saw a news article. Somebody backed me up here that Kanye's family says he's going through a mental health crisis right now.
That's
Oh,
what I
yeah,
heard
it's
for the weekend.
I mean, that's one of the ways you could describe it.
I mean,
Right now, you just now came to that conclusion? What? But anyway,
I agree with Karen too. Sheriff Bouchard will probably win again, but how effectively you minimize his influence is kind of what I was getting at. And I still don't really know. I mean, I'm not as hopeful that something immediately changes with that, because that guy's had a stronghold in that position for many years.
well, she's right. In this is what we've heard from prosecutors all along. If I refuse to prosecute the crimes, they will not investigate or arrest the people. And although that sounds like a logical progression of thought, it takes the cops a long time to change behavior. And if there's not somebody there saying you must change your behavior, they're slow to adapt. And I'm concerned that we're still going to see the bullying of the police on a street level of cannabis patients, and that we're not going to see a change in significant leadership. I mentioned a couple of communities, Southfield, Oak Park, Hazel Park, places along the 8 Mile border that are extremely diverse and have traditionally had problems with Oakland County coming in and heavy-handedly dictating to them what businesses they'll tolerate and what citizens they want to have there. So I would like to see a more active change in leadership at the sheriff level, but I agree that if we change the prosecutor, that's a big step.
Now, don't we kind of believe that this happened with Dana? A lot of intention for change, and then maybe getting into the position and realizing it's not that easy necessarily in all areas to just change how things have been for quite a while.
Well, the other thing is it's a 4-year term. So if you're expecting 4 years worth of change and we're only looking at a year and a half's worth of time, then maybe we're using a yardstick that's not a fair one.
Well, and basically she said too, I mean, if you just heard what she said, it doesn't mean I'm going to do everything you want me to do, but I will listen, so you can't expect that. You can't expect anybody to take office and just go, oh, okay, I'm just going to do boom, 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 and pander to this group and that group. So, you got to take all that with a grain of salt.
We are an immediate gratification society on so many different levels. We want fast food. We want extra fast shipping through FedEx. And we also want our results from our politicians to be immediate. But the process is not as quickly as done as just paying for, Amazon Red.
Yeah, and what you and I think is priority is not necessarily what the general public calls priority either. So that's always a problem too. We need something to happen now, and we're all excited about cannabis reform and this and that. Well, the guy next door is worried about something else.
But it's not in real life.
She mentioned something about children too. She didn't go into detail.
I think
I'm
she
sorry,
meant.
though, I didn't realize.
I think what she meant about children was they treat children as adults in Oakland County. They prosecute like 14-year-olds and shit, and that's I think what she was referring to was the view of
especially if they're from Pontiac, as it turns out. Probably.
Yeah.
And again, we were talking about another community that's traditionally been harassed and not treated with respect by the Oakland County Sheriff's Department. I can't necessarily say that about the local cops in Hazel Park or Oak Park or Pontiac. Maybe they're pretty good.
They
but
are the sheriffs in Pontiac.
The county sheriffs, I know now, but they haven't been throughout the entire tenure of her term. But But the county sheriffs are the ones that had the reputation that stuck the most. I've lived in Oakland County. I know Deb currently lives in Oakland County.
Yeah.
I've
lived there quite a bit of my life.
Yep, Jamie's been there. I mean, Royal Oak is a fun place for us to go and visit and hang out. But there's always that specter of the Oakland County Police. I have actually, to be honest with you, I've changed my route to not drive through Oakland County on occasions when I had that option. If I can choose 23 or if I can choose 75, I choose 23 because I don't like to go through OC.
Yeah, and even in communities like Ferndale, where people think that Ferndale is so damn progressive, that's the concept. The cops in Ferndale are dicks, like anywhere else, and they pull people over. I mean, for all kinds of crazy ass stupid stuff. So,
well, to a degree, the county prosecutor also sets the temperature for some of those other behaviors on a local police level as well, because those prosecutions of things they arrest you for by the local cops have to go through her office as well.
Yeah, and I believe that. I definitely believe that if a police department feels that the prosecutor is not going to take these cases to trial, there's no sense in them picking you up and fucking with you. They can't shake anything out of you then. So I think that is true what she said.
But there's a lot of "don't come back to my town, boy" kind of a thing, right? I mean,
yeah, but it's about money. We know that with cops, it's about money. That's the bottom damn line. They're not like tomcats, protecting their territory and shit. It's about how much money can they bring into whatever they need to do in their city, in their town, whatever.
I agree. That's got to be part of the reform that we.
Yeah, that's what it is. Got to reform it. Yeah, policing for profit just should not even be in the formula anymore. Policing for community, advantage maybe.
Well, there's many communities actually have a budget line item that says, income from traffic tickets or income from forfeiture, or income from seizures of homes for negligent taxes. When you're counting on making your bills by punishing the citizens that you're supposed to be representing, I think that's a bad philosophy. Now, I recognize we don't have an easy methodology to fund all of the things that we want government to do in America and in Michigan, but there has to be a way that doesn't involve stealing our stuff for no reason. And without a crime, without a conviction, just take something and throw it in a locker because you think you know better than the law, just wrong.
Yep.
Well, so we've outlined all of the problems. The solution, of course, is to elect people in office that have a different mindset, who will say, although maybe we could do this, I choose to only do this. And that's the way we step towards progress. And of course, changing the composition of our legislature in Michigan is huge. We have a legislature in the House and the Senate that is not likely to take up serious social justice reform or cannabis law reform outside of expungement within this session. And we need better people.
Yeah.
Man, it seems like we might be getting some.
We've had a number of great candidates here, Jamie, and that's all you're doing. Thank you for that.
Rock on, Jamie.
Oh, and we're joined with 10 minutes to go.
So I'm hoping, there's a chance that
the legendary
Ray Reyes shows up.
Ray Reyes.
It sure does.
Oh, he finally made it.
Jumps on here in a minute, but I want to bring up on Friday, and it's kind of cool. I guess it's the evolution of the whole thing. On Friday, it kind of an acknowledgement of what was once Third Coast Compassion Center, entering into the world of legalization and the MRTMA, and we're going to kind of acknowledge that.
No, we're not going to acknowledge that. They've decided that they want to not acknowledge that and to de-emphasize that and just focus on the fact that they got a rec license and a potential social justice lounge. So unfortunately, I think it's an important move to go from where we were to where we are. But Oz is a fully licensed recreational and medical facility located at 19 North Hamilton. And at 1 o'clock on Friday, we will be doing a sort of a grand opening ribbon cutting celebration. Braylon Edwards, former University of Michigan All-American and also a National Football League Fred Bolitnikoff winner as a wide receiver for 3 or 4 teams. He will be on hand, as well as 4-time Stanley Cup Award winning Darren McCarty of the Red Wings.
Oh, D-Mac.
Yep, DMAC will be there for
He
sure.
brought it up on Medical Mondays last night.
We
too.
talked about it a couple times. Yeah. So, but yep, they're celebrating the fact that they are a recreational license. They although there are places selling cannabis right now recreationally, including Oz, which is open and servicing patients right now and rec customers. They received their license before any other Ypsilanti facility, and they actually began selling cannabis before any other licensed facility in Ypsilanti. So they are the first to do
That
so
was
in.
That was the first dispensary I ever went to. Jamie took care of.
First in the state. Yeah.
It's got a lot of history, and you know, we should, in my opinion, we should celebrate that.
We good times there for sure, man. The pioneer days of that. The pioneer days.
Yep, it was a great. I remember the first time coming there to
Here
do an
comes
interview.
Darrell.
Darrell.
And that's why I prefaced that. I didn't know that we were doing that, but we'll talk about it now a little bit.
Darrell.
Hey, Darrell.
Darrell.
How you doing, man?
Captain Forehead.
Hey,
Darrell, good to see you.
you guys hear me all right?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect.
Just talking about Friday's event at Oz Cannabis, 19 North Hamilton. I understand you are going to be there.
Yes, I am. I heard you're going to be there too. That was a rumor.
Yep. Darren McCarty will be there. Also, Braylon Edwards will be there. Jamie Lowell, I know, more important than the other two guys. Jamie Lowell will be there.
I'm there.
Yep.
He's going.
Razor
I'll be
Ray.
there.
Look, Berg looks interested in it, but it's 1 o'clock in the morning. In the afternoon, might be early for Berg. I don't know.
It was 1 in the morning. I'd be there for sure.
Yeah.
I
One in the morning, we can probably get Lath Al-Sadi there too.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
No, but it's
Social lounge stuff for the future.
Yep, the Oz has
1
been
a.m.
awarded a recreational license and a medical license, and they have a social consumption lounge under construction. So it's a very exciting transition for that particular facility. Although that center's been cranking since the summer of 2009, man.
It's crazy. It's been that long. Time flies when you're having fun, right?
For sure.
Time flies when you're not incarcerated. Yes, absolutely. That's what I hear. No, but Darrell, it's a big moment, and you were one of the people that helped to transition from Third Coast to Oz. How did you guys get hooked up together, and what convinced you that these were the right guys to sell your business to?
Well, we had a lot of people that were trying to, so I've met with, numerous different people from the Canadian groups to all different ones. And, I thought I had something going with one, and at the last second, I just didn't like some of their stuff. And just out of coincidence, these guys called, and we had a mutual friend. Some people know that I've been in the poker world for a long time, World Series of Poker and things like that. Well, the main guy is also a poker guy, so we had this connection. He was finalist in one of the World Series events. That's not where he got his money, but he just happened to be in that same kind of family that I've been part of for 20 something years now. So it kind of got us a comfort level right off the bat there because of mutual friends we knew, and they're all locals. I mean, when you have all these guys come in from all these other states and stuff like that, it was kind of like, man, they never put time in our state. This group came in and they've been in Michigan their whole lives. So that made a difference to me. Seeing their professionalism made a big difference. And it's a group I can work with. So you gotta be able to work with them because I'm going to be with them for a long time still. So it's not like I'm disappearing. So this is a new family basically. So I wanted to make sure I get along with them well. They get along with me well. And it seemed like we had that. So, and we're all the same age. So it kind of worked out that we have so much in common, and it seems like a good group of guys.
Oz has a facility open in Detroit and 3 other places across the state, plus 2 more that are in progress, including one in Owasso. They've also got a big facility in Warren that's on the way that looks like it's nearly completely rented. That's one of those big facilities where they're going to be having individual businesses rent out different spaces. Seems like a huge change for a county for Macomb County that really hasn't wanted cannabis right up until this time.
Yeah, that project's a big project. I've been helping out with them quite a bit with that. It's a huge building. It's a 500,000 square foot building. So, I mean, they got that approval. They got most of it rented out. Some big name brands that are in there. It's going to be a good source for Oz in general, all the different groups. Because if you can't, and I told these guys from the beginning this, if you're just a dispensary, you're going to have a hard time if you can't get the supply. So putting a big facility like this together will help all the shops for Oz be able to supply the customers with what they need.
Vertical integration is certainly the way that we go here in Michigan. It's a way to ensure your product supply too. Oz is not just in Michigan though. These guys are so successful. They're also in Missouri and in another state that I can't recall right now. So really a successful group of folks to be able to transition from Third Coast over to Oz. How long are you going to be staying at that location, Darrell, or working with Oz rather?
Oh God, it could be forever. When Jamie and I started Third Coast in the beginning, I said I was going to give it 5 years. We're 12 years in now. So I've told these guys maybe 5 years, but it could be another 12, 20 years. You never know. I'm only in my mid 40s right now. So I got a little time to put in.
Hopefully.
This industry just doesn't have any ceiling. There's so many different ways to go in it, and you've got a real estate history too. So you really, there's so many different avenues in which the cannabis industry is affecting change in Michigan. You've seen this from Ypsilanti's perspective, as you've for a dozen years watched the city grow up around you and watched our community have a positive effect, right?
Oh, for sure. The city of Ypsilanti's, done a 360-degree turn from the time we started to now. Buildings, new businesses coming in, and even like in Depot Town in Ypsilanti, there's a whole new Thompson block building that's been being built, and that's actually partners with the same guys with Oz. So they're putting a Jolly Pumpkin in there. These are other businesses that are going to be coming into town too. All the restaurants are getting rented out now. You're seeing a lot of good movement in the city of Ypsilanti. I can't take credit for all that with marijuana, but it happened to work easy with the art industry coming in too. And you got all these different groups coming in. You go from
Darrell, I apologize to cut you off, Darrell, but we're only about a minute and a half left in our program today. So thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you on Friday, my old friend.
We're all going to see you on Friday, man.
For sure. Yeah, look forward to seeing everyone.
Looking forward to it, brother.
Well, listen, thanks
We'll
for
celebrate the history.
thanks to Brianna DiSalvio for coming on the show today. Thanks for our candidate that came on the show too, Jamie.
They'll both be back.
Karen McDonald.
Karen McDonald, right? We got Razor Ray who came in today too. Berg,
Just in time to burn some cannabis.
Had Julie Barron in the beginning.
Julie and Shelley and Deb's still with us here because she's the trooper. Yep, and Jim Salame. We really appreciate everybody hanging out.
Yep, thank you guys very much. We'll be back next Tuesday.
Well, all right.
Planting green trees on Thursdays and medical Mondays on Mondays.
And 420 post for me on Tuesday.